there is no ego there to be free. That's all. And that comes as a shattering blow. When you invest all your life chasing something that does not exist, you invest everything in that.
Why did you put it that you are not changing it, nor are you interested in change?
No, but you see, but if I drop the word...
Is there an impelling change to experience a change? You don't want to change.
It is not an experience, so it cannot be shared with others.
No, it's change of an experience.
It is not an experience. It's what I am saying is not an experience.
No, what is it when you feel a change? They're not of your making.
So, but you see, I don't see any deterioration around me. I don't see, of course, you see, I don't say all that is an illusion, that is ridiculous. The bombing, the killing of people is not an illusion. Not at all. You know, there isn't anything that you can do about it. So the moment you try to do something, you are adding more to it. It may be, you see, for humanistic reasons or for this reason or that reason. But you are adding to them. You know. I have no illusions that you see that I am going to help anyone.
How to conceive of a non-adding action?
It will be another concept, you see. That's all. We will be stuck with another concept.
I think there are two things. The concept determine your action, and concept lie behind and through. Isn't all the two?
But the cause and effect relationship is created by the logical thinking. These are not two events. It's one. You see, turn the switch on, the light is on. Is there? Look as if there are two different events, but it is actually one event. The time factor, the space does not exist at all.
We add it.
Yes, we add it. So creation and destruction is going on simultaneously. So the birth of the thought and the death of the thought is taking place simultaneously. And that is the reason why I say there is no such thing as death. Even for this body there is no. It changes. There is a chemical change. The putrefaction is life. You can't say that it is. It's no satisfaction to my children or to my dear and dear ones to say that the life is still going on there. But the form has changed. My relationship with that, you see, is the void that is created by the disappearance of the individual is all that I can experience. But not death. Death can never be experienced. Neither your birth nor death can ever be experienced by you. So for such an individual, there is no birth and death. So this is going through this process of dying all the time, you see, you know. I don't know if it makes any sense. I'm sorry you can't throw any light
on the problem you are facing.
So this is, of course, the feeling we also have on that dimension. On the ordinary dimension, his physiology is similar to mine,
you. I'm not
and
sure.
also is similar in certain respects.
In certain respects.
It is these similarities and dissimilarities, if we document, maybe that can teach us something again ordinary to ordinary.
It
That is all.
certainly will. It certainly will. It certainly will help mankind.
At the transactional level.
Yes, on that level. See, so my position is there isn't much that I can contribute or throw any light on.
But this discussion
that
which has come out,
Yes,
you know, is extraordinary. That's ultimately that is.
Yeah, I want to show you. I'm not an exhibitionist. You have read this all
Yes,
yourself.
yes.
But I don't know. They are still. This has always bothered me. See, two things I have been asking doctors. I have lots of doctors. This somehow, for some reason, psychologists don't like me. The psychiatrists don't like me because I say there is no psyche and whole business. This is nonsense. And I make statements to the effect that Freud was the stupendest god of the 20th century. I'm sorry to say that, but anyway. But he has influenced our thinking for 100 years. You can't deny that. So, good or for bad, you see, he has been there and he has created a new slang. Even I use neurotic situation, psychotic situation, many of those phrases which I use, you see. So to that extent he has contributed a lot of words for us to carry on the meaningless conversation and meaningless lessons, you see. So these two things have been bothering me. Not that they are really bothering me, but what is left here when the continuity of knowledge is not there is one series of interactions. There are no persons, there are no things. That is what even the modern physics is now talking about. So whatever is happening there is happening here. So there is no space. It is the thought that creates the space. So at this sunrise, just the way the ocean is changing, you have high tides, low tides. So here the energy flow also is affected by the sunrise, sunset, half moon, quarter moon, full moon, and then you see new moon like that, you see. So probably other planets are also influencing this way. Since you have this armor around you all the time, you are not affected by what is happening. And you see, the two things that have always intrigued me. One is that there are moments when, this will interest you, moments when there is some kind of a breathing which bypasses the lungs altogether. You see, so that is really probably what is meant by prana or pranayama. See, so yama, I don't know what it means actually. That's what the scholars would tell us, but anyway, I don't go by what they say. So then you see, this is one movement. It's like a jellyfish, you see, in the ocean, in Medusa, or whatever you want to call it. The throb and the beat and the pulse of life. And this has no isolated, independent existence of its own, other than what is happening around. No doctor has given me any satisfactory reply, because they don't think that it is possible. See? So this only one fellow, Dr. Leboyer, who has written a lot of books on childbirth and all that, he said that this kind of a thing happens in newborn babies, you know. So for all practical purposes, when you see the death takes place, see, it very often happens here, because the death is a process of renewal. The body goes through this process of dying so often, and every time it renews itself, it is given, you see, a longer lease. One day when it cannot renew itself, it drops dead. So this has always intrigued me. And the actual yoga is very strange, you see. It has nothing to do with these 150 or 200 acrobatic things you stand on your head, on your shoulders, or hang from Nitya and all. See, the yoga begins with the physical death. You know, first the physical, clinical death has got to take place. And once the thought stops, without splitting itself into two, the body goes through a physical death. This seems to have happened to many of those persons like Sri Ramakrishna and Ramana Maharshi. There is a record to show. I'm not interested in the certificates of those people, nor am I interested in finding out whether it is authentic or not. So the body has to be a stiff first. This is the word they use in the crime books. The death must first take place, and then you see the yoga begins. See, the yoga is the attempt on the part of this body to bring back the movements of the body into its natural rhythm. This is an extraordinary movement. You see, I don't know if you have ever seen a newborn baby. It begins to move like that, to take the whole movement of the body into its a very natural rhythm. I have often felt very strongly that, you see, the movements of the body that I experience after every time the body goes through a process of dying. So naturally, you see, the pulse goes down, the heartbeat practically is not existing. If you want me to put myself, I'm not interested, I'm not selling this, I'm just making a statement, take it or leave it. So, you see, it is much closer to what the Chinese talk about. You see, the Tai Chi movements, very graceful movements, this one, like the movements of a newborn baby. So that is the beginning of yoga, and not the other way around. You see, you do all those 150 postures, you see, and then talk of Savasana. It begins with the stiff, and then you see the movements of this body to put it back in its normal rhythm is probably the basis or the origin of yoga. I can't say that. So maybe their disciples watched this and observed this and tried to imitate that, and in the process they added, hundreds and thousands of postures, just the way you see when sex becomes a bore, you have to use hundreds of sex postures, and that is what the Kama Sutras talk about, in exactly the same way the Yoga Sutras talk of 150 varieties of postures. But you see, the first thing that has to happen is the physical death, you see. And then, you see, is the beginning of the yoga, is the beginning of pranayama, or whatever you want to call it. So, this is one of the things that has always intrigued me. See, there is no question of my demanding that kind of a thing to happen. There is nothing that I can do to make it happen. It just happens, you see, out of nowhere. And you see, but still, you see, there is something that is there which is experiencing these things. That's why I'm able to talk about that experience. But anything that you experience is a worthless experience. But the only nice thing about it is the demand for more and more and more of those experiences, or less and less of those experiences is absent, so you see it takes in its stride. There is a high tide, low tide, no tide, you see, something like that. And the other thing is this, you see, she has described this, doctor has described this, you see these swellings here, no pain, nothing of this sort. You see, sometimes the whole swelling is like, you see, a ball.
Is it around the neck?
Sometimes the whole thing, see, now here these two are very important. No pain. You see,
it comes swollen up and then
you see after a while, or you see, if you are not only that, you see, if you are in front of something directly, you see, you are looking at a beautiful mountain. You never say that it is beautiful, but you see the effect of that on the body produces all kinds of changes in this body. That is the effect of beauty on the body, when it is one unitary movement. And then what happens? You become conscious of this fact that something extraordinary is taking place before you take a deep breath. Suddenly, say, out of nowhere, you take a deep breath. That may be the reason why they have used the word breathtaking beauty. So the only way you become conscious of things that are happening around you is through this series of changes in your breathing pattern. Sometimes they are deep breaths, sometimes you see you don't even know. Sometimes like the bellows, you see, when the oxygen goes down from the brain, it needs oxygen. See, so you have to, the body resorts to itself, resorts to this kind of, you see, the bellow breathing, all of a sudden from out of nowhere. So it has, you see, a tremendous mechanism, So when you eat naturally, the blood rushes into the stomach. The stomach needs the blood. When you are eating, I'm not thinking anything. I don't even know what I'm eating, you see. If somebody gives me nitric acid, I know that it is nitric acid or sulfuric acid, because this smell tells me that it is not good for the body. So that's why I said you are not primitive. All the knowledge that we have acquired is there ready when there is a demand for it to come into operation and help you in that situation. So that seems to be the only thing. You see, there are only interactions. There are no persons, there are no things, nothing there.
Just this long breathing.
Yes,
does that come along with this?
Not necessarily. Sometimes, you see, when you are lying down or sitting there, suddenly, you see, the whole thing, changes. And the breathing slows down to such an extent that you feel you are gasping for breath, You see, and suddenly, you see, this is something like the second wind. I don't know if you have noticed this, the sportsmen who are participating in the running. You see, you can be certain that whoever achieves that second wind, he will be the one that will win the race. No doubt about it. Because you see, the thought has no more any influence, no fear, and then you see the whole momentum is maintained by the second wind. So even that this is what most of these people, yogis, are trying to achieve, the second breath, you see. But there is something more than that, but even that, you see, is not there anymore. But you see, this is the bypassing of the lungs, and the whole of your being is one pulse, the beat and the throb. It has a course of its own any day sometimes, when there is nobody to talk to, you see. I sit there, and all kinds of strange things happen, you see. So this fellow has singled out only the thymus gland, you see. So, but there are other glands, pituitary, pineal glands. You see, what is the gland you have here? Pineal gland is a tremendous thing right there. See, the pineal gland is the one that controls the whole movements of the body, the breathing pattern. You see, everything is controlled by that. That is the reason why they call it jnana, what is it? Agnya chakra. You see, when the thought is not there, the other one takes over and controls. This is a very painful thing, very painful. Why it is painful? Because the thought, if it is not used for achieving anything, either the spiritual goals or the material goals, it burns itself out. This can be experienced by an individual. It is some sort of an ionization of thought takes place. So when this accumulates there, it has to escape. But the body has a limitation of its own. So that is the reason why when you see the energy is lashing against, you see the form of the body, it's a very painful thing. Not the painful experiences we experience, because there is nobody who is experiencing the body is experiencing. This is something which they don't know. It's a very painful thing. You see, so this is a fortuitous concourse of atoms, and every time there is this disintegration of thought or complete burning out of thought, it is like, you see, it's an atomic explosion which leaves behind the fallout. So that is why I say this body is something extraordinary. You can't improve that body. You can't do anything. So I am not against medical technology or anything. There is a tremendous achievement, you see, but personally I don't...
Yes, medical technology, if I don't like this body, medicine cannot change my body.
There are plastic surgeons, probably if you don't like my stubborn nose, I can go to a plastic surgeon and ask him to have... No, but you see that if it is fashionable to have aquiline noses, yes, or change the eyes, change the color.
But the brain transplantation era is going to come.
Is going to come. You see, every part of the body.
Years.
I don't, that is too far.
You don't know.
I don't. Our father was one of the first surgeons who performed brain surgery. In the medical textbooks, they have what they call Kervan syndrome. See, he was one of the top surgeons in Switzerland. He was invited by Mayo Clinic to perform the brain surgery. That was 50, 60 years ago.
What was his name?
Kervan, the Kervan is his name. You find his statues in the hospitals. The Kervan. And he is in the medical textbooks, they call it Kervan syndrome. That's the Lukenberg's disease. He was a well-known surgeon, and he wrote 1920 textbook on surgery and all. So it was one of the... Now her niece, you see, her brother's, her sister's son, is doing research in the glands. He was in the United States, was sent by the French government to do some research. We had a long discussion on this. You see, he told me that this is of great interest to us. You see, if you remove the religious slant word, describe the whole thing in physical and physiological terms, it will be of great interest to us. And he said one thing, you see, all those books, that is, the fiction books they write, are written by experts in their fields, in the field of biology and all those things. They envisage the possibility of such human beings as the end products of the evolutionary process, not the spiritual beings, not the perfect man or such thing. You see, nature is trying to create, you see, individuals like this who are functioning in a different way, functioning in the sense that there is only function, responding to the stimuli. And to put it that way is misleading, because the response and stimulus and response is a unitary.
Yes.
I can't say that there are sensations. The moment I experience these sensations, the knowledge that I have about the sensations has already translated. No. So the sensory perceptions are extraordinarily sensitive. You know. This is a wonderful creation. I don't know who created this body. It's an extra. Once there was a beautiful lady, they said, you see, that beauty is the creation of the nature. You see. You know, the credit goes to the nature, but not your attempt, you see, to beautify yourself, the use of all the cosmetics and all. So nature is creating some unique individuals. We have messed up the whole business. Messed up. Because the whole thing is built on the foundation that everything that is there in nature is created for the benefit of man. So anything we discover is used for the destruction of man and the destruction of life. If man goes so wrong, nothing is lost. Yesterday I was quoting something. We have today 1.5 million species of animals and 500,000 species of plants on this planet. And that represents only 1/10 of what existed before. So many things have become extinct. You see, the present breed of humans that we have on this planet probably have come out of the degenerate species somewhere. The mutation must have taken place in some degenerate species. That is why we have messed up the whole. But is there anything that anybody can do to reverse it or change the course of the whole thing? Is anybody's guess.
With this immense, can some of these who fall out from the tiger, can they change the course?
The claims that they make has really no basis because they talk of affecting the whole of human consciousness. You see, that I think is a very tall thing. I don't think they realize what do they mean by consciousness? See, the consciousness that we know of is the one that is created by the thinking of man. That's all that we know. So you can affect that consciousness through propaganda, through persuasion, through drugs, you see, more easily than otherwise, and change it. But the change is only a change within the same framework. How can we change it? Is it necessary to change? What for, I don't know.
No, it's not necessary.
But don't you think a blunting process has occurred in our real system?
Has it really occurred? Man, has he come to...
No, so that sensitive part is still remaining.
It is still there.
Inside.
It is still there.
So, by
You
a
see,
process
it is like, sir, a seed you plant there, the whole tree is there. You see, in that seed. Everything that you see here was there in the single cell. The whole blueprint is there. So, if you don't water it or if you plant it, you see, in a soil which is not suitable for, you see, the sprouting of the seeds, it perishes, that's all. Nothing is lost for mankind.
So should we not know what soil is ideal for that seed? What type of
I was afraid to ask the
He will only invent, you see, the sprays that we are spraying on the trees, is anything that comes out of that thinking. Will be one of those, manures, what do you have the names? Fertilizers and ruin the whole thing. How fertilizers can come out of it?
We need them too.
Sure, you have to feed all these people.
Even a beautiful woman needs some cosmetics.
Yeah, but you have to kill unless
Let's discover a few cosmetics.
that's the reason why you are killing thousands of whales. Whale oil is necessary for all these cosmetics. Otherwise, you see, you want to save the whales, and through that process you will put out of job Maxwell, what are those? Rubinstein, and then you see Elizabeth Arden. They will all go out of business. They have to wait until we discover some synthetic stuff.
I think if sensitivity...
What has happened to that Dr. Clark? I am not reading the newspapers.
Clark.
the artificial heart which they have planted in the dentist in America. I think he's still alive.
We heard 2 or 3 days after that.
Oh boy, that's a remarkable thing. They hope that they will be able to create small.
Fact that we live here again, we have to.
He is alive. He's very much alive. They showed everything. They showed it on the TV. Everything is an entertainment for the Americans. Shooting the President of the United States is an entertainment.
I was wondering, where is this eye? Is it in the brain or whole body?
There is no eye there. It's only a first person singular pronoun.
Which is created for transaction.
You see, the totality of man's thoughts and feelings and experiences is the eye. You see, that I is part of the totality of man's thoughts and feelings. So there is only a world mind and there is no such thing as your mind and mine. So that world mind has created us all for the simple reason that should maintain its consciousness.
It is for self-survival.
For survival of that. So you see, the self-survival mechanism of this living organism is vitiated to such an extent that your belief also is part of the survival mechanism. See, belonging, to a particular group of fanatics, is also a survival mechanism. It has become the survival mechanism of this living organism. Naturally, the hydrogen bomb, the cobalt bomb, is also an extension of the same survival mechanism of this living organism. So much so, it is not possible for us to draw the line and say that we can do away with the hydrogen bomb and not with the policeman who is protecting my life and my property. So where do you draw the line? Their way of life and their way of thinking can only be protected by the hydrogen bomb. That is why they are spending so much money.
Now, by your expression today, you have sharpened the sensitivity of the group.
No.
Can I wait.
I'm sorry, he is guessing him.
Can I at least express my sensitivity?
You know, guess what he is going to say.
No, I knew that. I knew
No, in a direction which was dormant before and it is coming out.
I think it is.
I mean, in my, you can say I may be imagining.
What little opportunity that is there
He's lost.
is lost.
Why? I want a little more. No, that is self-negation. I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't expect you to agree with me, but that is a fact.
No one can agree.
Why should that statement come in?
What little chance you have, or what little chance that is there, is lost because whatever has been said, whatever is being said, has already become part of it. See, it's and
No.
that's the only way. There's no other way.
But suppose my sensitivity is a demolition squad to get in for fresh insights. Why are you denying
It
that?
demolishes with the idea of building another structure.
No. Why are you pursuing?
That's the way it operates.
I know, but suppose I want to cut
No
free from it.
suppositions.
I want to cut free from it. Otherwise I would not have been sitting and...
We have wasted your time. It's precious time. You could have performed a very beautiful, very essential,
But
neurological...
precious in the transactional language.
Yes.
But I am going beyond the transactional language. I would like to.
There is no way of transcending it. You see, the certainty that I have, which is not a logically certain premise, is something which cannot be, not intuitive, cannot be transmitted to anyone.
That is the whole crux. It has to happen. You have to fall from the tiger.
The only way...
But I have fallen. I am crying from the ground.
No. This is the point.
You have learned all
Can you say no?
You are learning all the tricks of controlling the tiger and keep riding.
But now I am talking from the floor. I have fallen from the floor.
You haven't. I am not full.
What Yuji was saying, he also tried earlier. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
He also went and talked to people and so on. Similarly. No, that won't help. It has to occur within you.
But that
Does it help to occur from within us?
No, I am saying that it is a miracle of all miracles that whatever happened to me has happened in spite of everything I not because of.
That is the point.
agree with
That is what I am
You
saying.
are asking because.
No, I'm not asking because. It just occurred.
That is an occurrence which is a causal. That's what
It's
I am.
not because. It's simultaneous. I am not introducing time between the cause and effect at all. It's an event.
It has no cause.
No, it's an event. Causeless event.
All right, that event is something which cannot be made to happen.
No, it's not going to happen because I didn't ask for it.
It is obvious it has not occurred. That's what you are asking. I'm sorry. I don't mean any disrespect to you. I don't mean any disrespect.
No, I want to. My exercise is how to communicate the happening.
It's not possible for you. If there is any way of, because it is not an experience, there is, it is not something that can be shared with somebody. It is not that I want to
can't
keep it for
verbalize
myself.
it.
No, not verbalize means you can create a new language and play games with it. But this is something.
No, but any language created will have it the same
Same thing. So this is not something to be transmitted because I am emphasizing all the time. You are not any. I am not anything that you are not. So, I become a backbencher already. See, the moment you see something occurs there, it is something like you touching life at a point where nobody else touched before. So it is bound to express itself in an extraordinarily different way. It's something which nobody has seen before. A flower which, I don't like to use the word flower because it has filthy mystical connotations about it. You see. So this is a rare bird, rare animal, rare plant, which you should keep it in a museum and look at. That's all it is. I'm sorry to say.
It's a non-relativistic term, that's why you cannot handle it. It has to be your own.
Yes, because you have no reference point there.
There is no reference.
There is no reference point there.
The change of reference points occurs in a way from that absolute
No,
point.
that is
Abolition of a reference point,
What is
or I don't know even whether it's abolition.
No, the absence of a reference point is all that I'm talking about. That cannot be eliminated through any volition, any effort on your part or anybody's part.
Because that will create
From
force.
birth we are learning only reference points, additions.
So that's all.
You have to cease back to birth. I mean, as you grow,
No, that's what I was talking about the primal.
In the final analysis, it is you are genetically determined, programmed. That's all there is. Not that this individual will benefit mankind or put it, you see, on a different path or any such thing. But I think it is genetically, what is the word? Controlled. See, such an individual, the problem is, you see, not to get something from somebody, but to reject everything that is offered as a help. So it requires a tremendous guts, you see, to brush aside everything. So that is why, you see, it is courage, you see. What is there is courage, because this greatest thing that it is impossible to occur has occurred. That it freed itself from the burden of the entire cost of man. So that is why you describe that as a courage, but no amount of cultivation of courage on your part will make it possible for that to be so. That is the reason why you see, if somebody comes, I talk. If nobody comes, it's just fine with me. So I don't think that I have in any way contribute anything for the enrichment or the welfare or, I don't know, progress of mankind. It is not that I am unconcerned with. You see. So this feeling is felt here. You see, there is a feeling that is not an emotion, not a sentiment, not any one of those things. It's very difficult. What kind of a reference point you have there? I'm talking of a feeling, you see, which is felt by the whole of your being. You know? So, and yet you are so helpless. There isn't a thing that you can do. Anything you do is adding momentum to it. So because the medium is you. The medium is that reference point, whether it is you or a newspaper man or a television interviewer, he is the one, you see, through which it is flowing. So that is the reason why, you see, some of the Upanishads say, you see, this very teaching has to be both. The very expression, see, I'm not mystifying or any such thing, but there it is. So it's very difficult, you see, how the sensory perceptions are here. You can't imagine. You can't imagine. You see, the physical eye captures the movement, but the thought cannot capture the movement. What you experience as movement is a thought-induced movement, but not the actual movement. So you are sitting here, when the eyes are looking at the thing, the whole of your being is eyes. Nothing else is there. You know? So it's a tremendous Vishnu vision, you see. But if you indulge in describing that in romantic and poetic language, you are missing the point. So the whole of your looking is all one. So that is the way the sensory perceptions operate. Yet they are all independent. You see, there is no coordinator there who is coordinating these sensory perceptions. But a sort of coordination is necessary to respond to a particular action, and that depends upon the demands of the situation. Whether it needs the coordination of all the five, or one or two, or three, or only one. You see, that is decided by the demands of the situation, not by any entity here, any coordinator who is coordinating this. It will be a very difficult thing for you to function that way. It's a frightening situation in the beginning, bewildering situation. They take over. So it's not that religious, mystifying, mystical stuff or bliss, beatitude or immensity or any one of those things, but I don't see that why any religious slant should be placed on this, or interpret this, translate these things in any mystical language. But this is a pure and simple physical, physiological functioning of that the human, that the nature has created, which is in one, which is one, which is not separate from the nature. So he lives for, you see, and then withers, that's the end. Anything you preserve of this is worthless. It's like, you see, the artificial perfumes we make, but it's not the same. It's because you don't even know how this, by the time you capture this, you know, this smells like that flower, this flower, that flower. So,
compartmentless.
yes, well, that fellow should be left alone. You see, some rare plant you see, you wonder, admire, what is this, which we haven't seen, which cannot be put in any cage or any list of 240 natural orders which you know of. This is something quite different.
So you reject what is not compartmentless.
Yes, finished. Not reject, you see.
I mean,
it has no relevance. It has no relevance to the way that human body is functioning. I am not anything that you are not.
But you see, it is that attainment, that reaching that state, is it not that considered to be the aim or suggestion given in the Upanishads that reaching that state? And that should be the ultimate desired end for every human being.
Yes, but
If
unfortunately,
the whole human race is like that,
it would be a horrible place to live. And that is, first of all, a thing that will never happen. It can't in the very nature of things happen.
but
You
the
see,
Upanishads
you know, it is-
mind that
That is true, but if they don't emphasize one thing which I am emphasizing all the time, is that the very desire for that must go.
Even a desire, even for that must
more
go.
so than all the other desires.
That's the point you're emphasizing.
That is more so. You see, that desire has to burn itself out. But you are tackling with these petty little desires. I control this because that is the one I must desire and not these things. So that when that goes, these have no importance at all. So because desire is life, you see, this is ridiculous to suppress desire. The desire is the expression of life. You know, so what is the point in suppressing these things, controlling these things, practicing some silly non-desires in the hope of getting that? You see, that has to go. That has
Silly non-desires. Which itself becomes a master desire.
that one has to go. I don't know. I've said my piece. This you are finished with, or you can have it?
But we would like to have it.
Yes, by all means. But I have suggested that he should, you see, include all the other glands also.
It's only the thymus.
He is to emphasize, you see, only that one. So you see, now there is a tremendous interest in the thymus gland in America. Oh my God, so many books have been published. So next time when I am there in California, some people have expressed a desire to meet me. And I don't think I can contribute much in what they are interested in, but I hinted this long time ago. But you see, the
Developmentally dormant cells must be there.
Must be there. You see, the whole of your being is involved. Sorry. I am here.
I have always wanted.
I am here until the institution. I very arrogantly said I am not ready yet.
But you don't have to desire strongly not to go, you see. No harm.
No, I visited some of those, the pineal gland, you see, and then pituitary gland. You see, if you don't do something about the pituitary gland, you see, they are all interested in treating them as ailment. You have to do it, otherwise you grow taller than the tallest tree, you see, you know that, you see. So, but you have to do something to control that, you see, the anomalous situation created by some disorder in the metabolism of the body.
See, what is the point I can understand? You see, by these studies, one would never, or one may never understand that attainment. But there will be another advantage of studying and understanding the ordinaries, because ordinaries help ordinaries, and most of the people are ordinaries.
Certainly.
And even in the ordinaries, there are stupidities and less stupidities and more stupidities.
Yes.
So this will clear up many of
in that framework, everything is valid.
That's
You see, I am rejecting psyche. So you see, the psyche is a reality. You can't deny that. You see, to me, I have discovered that it doesn't exist. The self doesn't exist. So the whole search for, you see, or the demand for self-realization is a meaningless thing for me. You see, but the self is a reality. The I is a reality there. So you are interested in, you see, improving the situation, adding something, changing it, modifying it.
Do cosmetics.
Cosmetics. Within the framework, yes, you see, but there's nothing that I can contribute there except to describe the way I am functioning, which may or may not have any relevance. So making statements like this, that you see it is there, that the whole thing is felt. I answered that originally in such terms because people talked of the real Hridaya, the real heart, like Ramana Maharshi, and there is no real heart there other than, you see, the physical heart. The physical heart registers only the emotions, the anxieties, the worries and all that kind of thing. Or